Hi, and welcome to Happy Hand Studios. My name is Cassie, and today we're going to be working on our Mosaic Trinket Dish kit. Go ahead and grab your clay, your mold, your tiles, your paintbrush, a cup of water, and some wipes or napkins. Now that you've gathered your materials, it's time to get started. The first thing we need to do is prepare our clay. We want our clay to be soft and pliable, and right now it's not. So we're going to knead and squish our clay until it's prepped and ready to go. You'll notice as you squish your clay that dark spots begin to appear. We want to continue to knead our clay until the whole ball of clay has turned into this dark color. You should see no more light spots. If your clay feels dry and difficult to work with, that's fine. Add a few drops of water and continue to knead. Add water, knead until your clay becomes a nice, pliable ball. You should be able to push your finger through the clay and not see any cracks around the edges. Once you've gotten to this state, you know you're ready to go. For the next step, you're going to need your plate mold. You're going to start flattening out your ball of clay into a disc. We want to flatten this out evenly, so start in the middle and work your way out to the edges. We're trying to form this disc to be about the same size as your plate mold. If you get cracks along the edges as you're flattening it out, it's not a big deal. Just squish them back together and smooth it out. We're going to come back and refine those details later. Right now, our goal is just to flatten the clay out as even as we can so that we can form it in the plate in our next step. What I like to do next is get my fingers damp and smooth out one side of the clay. This is the side that we're going to put directly down onto our plate mold, and it's just going to ensure that we have a nicer finish on the bottom of our plate when it's dry and we remove it from the mold. We've laid our smooth side down into our plate mold, and now it's time to press it in. We're going to start in the middle of our plate and work our way around out to the edges. This is going to make sure that we don't have any air bubbles trapped underneath and we have good contact with our plate mold so that we have a solid base to work from. Now it's time to work on the edges of our plate. This is where you get to decide what shape you want your plate to be. For me, this plate I'm going to keep as a straight circle. Here's a few examples of other plates with different shapes. Feel free to take inspiration from one of these designs or create something that's uniquely yours. To flatten out the edges of my plate, I'm using my pointer finger and my thumb in a pinching motion, and I'm just going to gently work my way around the plate, pinching the clay into the mold. And I'm just going to work little by little, slowly around the plate, a few times until I'm happy with the shape. The next step is to refine the edges and smooth out all those bumps and cracks. You're going to want to make sure that your hands are wet for this step so that your fingers can glide smoothly over the clay. What I like to do is use my pointer finger and my thumb to create an edge for me to smooth out the edge of the clay. You can see here that with my hands wet and using that angle of my fingers, I can get a nice crisp edge. We're going to continue that process all the way around the edge of the plate until we're satisfied with the shape that we've gotten. The next step is going to be to smooth out the top of our plate. And just like the edge of the plate, we want to make sure that our hands are wet during this step so that we can easily smooth out all of those bumps. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect because we're about to push a bunch of tiles into the surface of the clay, but we do want it to be fairly even to start out with. And your plate should be looking a little something like this. Now, I'm going to go wash my hands before we move on to the next step. And now for the colorful part. Grab your box of mosaic tiles. I personally like to use a spare plate mold to spread my tiles out and get a better look at what choices I have. This is the perfect time to just put on some music, sit back, and let your creative energy flow. There's no right or wrong way to do this. It's kind of like doing a puzzle, but not knowing what the final picture is going to be. One thing I recommend is to just lay your tiles on the surface of your clay. Don't fully push them in yet. We want to make sure we're happy with our design before we commit to pushing the tile into the clay. Just slightly press it in to hold it in place and continue about your design. Come back and look at your design at the end and see if there's any pieces you want to change. Now I've placed all my tiles and I'm looking over my design. I noticed I have these special tiles, like these star ones and these glitter ones, but they're only on one side of the plate. The other side of the plate feels left out. So let's change that. I really like these star tiles, and look at this cute bow. I think these are the two that I'm gonna add. And this is exactly why we only place our tiles on the surface and we don't push it all the way in. I'm just going to pull off the original tile I put down, easily smooth out that surface, and replace it with this cute bow. And I can do the same thing with this star. It's easy for me to just pull up those old tiles and rearrange them in the way that I want. Once you're satisfied with the layout of your tiles, it's time to commit. We're going to push these tiles into the clay. What I like to do is use my hands on the back side of my plate to add some support when I'm pushing these tiles in. Now, don't go crazy and shove this all the way through. Go slow, use even pressure, and we just want to push that tile in until it is flat with the surface of our clay. As you work your way around the edges, you may find that some of the clay tries to pull away from the tiles a little bit, especially with those tiles that are right on the edge. That's fine, just squish it all back together and keep working your way around. Now that all of our tiles are pushed in, we're just going to go around the plate one more time, perfecting that shape and making sure that we're happy with the way that it looks. Pushing the tiles in sometimes distorts your shape a little bit, so this is your time to refine it. And the last thing we're going to do today is make sure that the surface of our plate is nice and smooth. Use the paintbrush from your kit and some water and smooth out all of the clay around those tiles. We don't want any rough edges or bumps. By this point, your plate mold is feeling pretty damp and not very easy to hold on to. So we're going to grab an extra plate from our kit and we're going to throw our plate on top of it. And now we're going to set it somewhere to dry. It needs to be in a cool, dry place where it's not in direct sunlight. It's going to take your plate about 5 to 7 days to dry, depending on your temperature and humidity. So it's okay to just set it to the side and forget about it for a few days. Also, don't be worried about any haziness or clay that's showing up on the surface of your tiles. It's going to be a lot easier for us to clean that later on once our plate is dry. For this step, you're going to need your dry plate, sandpaper, glaze, and paintbrush from your kit. For me, it's been about 5 days, and I know my plate is completely dry because it no longer feels cold to the touch, and when I rub the surface of my plate, it feels powdery. So now I know it's safe to remove from the mold. In the drying process, the plate already naturally started to release from the edges of the mold, but I'm just going to give it a gentle tug until it completely releases. Now, it's completely normal to see some imperfections on the bottom of your plate. Some bumps, some rough edges. Don't worry, we're going to smooth those out now. Grab the sandpaper from your kit and we're going to smooth out our surface. The sandpaper can be a little stiff and hard to move around the plate right out of the kit, so I like to wiggle it around a little bit just to warm it up. Remember, this is not a rough sand. This is just a gentle smoothing out any little bumps or imperfections we want to get rid of. I'm using gentle pressure and lightly working my way around the surface. I smoothed out the top of the plate. Now I'm doing the edges of my plate, and I want to make sure that underside is nice and smooth as well. And as you can see, this does make a mess, so just clean that up with a wet paper towel or a wipe. Our plate is feeling pretty dusty by now too, so we need to clean that up with a wet paper towel as well. We want to make sure that our paper towel is just lightly damp, not soaking wet. We do not want to introduce a lot of water back into our plate. We just waited days for it to dry. You can see in my plate here that my paper towel is just damp enough that you start to see a little bit of color change on the plate, but it dries very quickly. Our goal here is to just remove that dust that we created from sanding. Your plate is always going to have a little bit of a powdery feel until we glaze it, but we don't want any dust. This is also the perfect time to clean up your tiles. You'll notice that you have some haze from the clay and maybe even some clay overlapping your tiles that we're going to clean up now. I like to just wrap that same damp paper towel around my finger and just buff the surface of each of the tiles until they're shiny. And of course, every artist needs to sign their work, so grab a pencil or a toothpick and sign your name in the bottom. Our last and final step is the glaze. Grab your bottle of glaze from your kit, remove the rubber stopper from the top of the bottle, and we're going to begin to glaze our plate. The glaze is going to seal our plate, add a beautiful shine, and protect it so that we can continue to enjoy our beautiful design that we've made. When you're applying your glaze, it's important that you're working in thin, even coats on the top and bottom of your plate. There's enough glaze in your bottle to give you 2 to 3 coats on the top and bottom of your plate. It's also important that you are waiting for that glaze to dry completely between coats. And you're done! You've made a beautiful mosaic trinket dish. It is important to note that your dish is not food safe, but you can use it for all sorts of things. I use mine for my bobby pins in the bathroom, my keys at the front door, and random knickknacks on my desk. Thank you so much for creating with me today. I hope we get to make something together again soon. One more thing before you go. I've made something special just for you on the back side of your instruction sheet. Don't throw that paper away. It's a positive affirmation design for you to carry with you and keep close every time you need a reminder of your creative self. I'm going to teach you how to fold it now. The folds are pretty simple. We're going to follow the fold lines in each of these sections. We're going to start with a hot dog fold, and then we're going to fold that section in half and fold it in half one more time. Each of these rectangles on the page creates their own individual page in our design. Now you're going to open that page back up and we're going to fold it in half again, but this time hamburger way. Now we need to make one small cut exactly along the dotted cut line and only on that dotted cut line. Now when you open your page back up, you'll see that that cut only goes through those middle 2 sections, but the 2 sections on the ends are still connected. We're going to fold our paper back in half hot dog style again, and this time we have a slit down the middle from that cut. You can open that up to make our 4 pages of our design. One of my favorite things about this is that you can decide which page you want to be your cover. Each page has been designed with a beautiful, positive affirmation to help you remember your creative self. Pick one that's the most meaningful to you and make that one your cover page. Keep your positive affirmation design close by and look at it anytime you need a little boost of positivity. And remember, you are creative and worthy of making time for the things that make you happy.